We're continuing to walk through in this devotional series, the Book of Concord, and today's devotion comes from the Small Called Articles, Part 3, Article 14. And it's the subject of this article is concerning monastic vows. And most of us probably won't have this question come up, right? I don't know that I've ever really talked to someone who was seriously considering entering a monastery and taking monastic vows. But there's a line in here in Luther's writings that I think is helpful for us to think about. And the line is this. It says, "For those who vow to live a monastic life believe that they lead a better life than the ordinary Christian." And I want to draw some attention to that because I think there is a belief, or maybe not a belief, maybe just a thought or an assumption, and for a lot of people that some professions or some callings, some careers are quote unquote leading a better life than the ordinary Christian in sort of the moral sense, and for a lot of people there's a perception that a pastor is somehow leading a better life than an ordinary Christian, when the reality is that if you're living in your vocation well, and you are showing virtue, and the fruits of the Spirit and the lessons we learn on the Sermon on the Mount and all of these different things, if you're a banker or a barista or a teacher, a tech person, whatever your profession is, whatever your vocations are, if you're living faithfully in them, you're living, you're living a faithful life. And the pastor isn't something special, right? If I am faithfully doing what I am called to do, and I'm showing joy, and I'm showing patience, and I'm an ambassador for peace, and I'm all these same things that apply to other jobs, there's no distinction there. I think the distinction worth making, or maybe not a distinction worth making, I think where this comes from is that it's more directly tied to the job itself, right? If I am not acting faithfully as a Christian, that pretty immediately poses some problems for me career-wise, right? Because I'm I'm a hypocrite. My preaching, etc., becomes much less worthwhile. Whereas, like, if I'll go to the example of banker again. If you kind of shortchange some people, maybe that can actually help your career if it saved your company some money and there's no legal ramifications for it. So I think that's where it comes from. But the reality is, if you're living faithfully in whatever your vocation is, right, you're no better or worse than anyone else who's living faithfully in their vocation. So that's not exactly what Luther was writing about, but that's where I figured I would take it. And since I'm the one doing these devotions, that's how it's being taken. So that's the direction we went. So if you have comments, if you have questions, if you have concerns, as always, put them in the comment section below. And regardless, brothers and sisters, go in peace, serve the Lord. Thanks be to God.